I saw How to Train Your Dragon 3 when it came out in cinema, and I remember thinking on the way home when I was sitting on the bus, was this film a bit racist? I really like How to Train Your Dragon. The first film is brilliant. It flows almost flawlessly. It's just so nice to watch, and it's one of those animation films where everything just fits together nicely. The art style, the music, the structure, the story, even the voice actors are perfectly cast. This is the only film where this guy's voice has actually made sense. I mean, his voice is like the most cartoon character voice I've ever heard.
What it came down to was a combination of gamers and porn.
It's just so easy to watch as well, and the message is great too. Brilliant, in fact, for a children's film. Don't judge based off fear and preconceived notions because you might be mistaken. Something you hate, you might actually love. Don't underestimate people because they might just be right for the situation. There seems to be a lot about cooperation. It may be a bit of a stretch given that it's two different species, but there is a hint of an anti-racism message in all this as well. Don't judge on preconceived fears. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge by their race, or species in this case. You could get along great. You could both be better off together if you gave it a chance. Also, there's a lot of don't judge a book by its cover in other areas too. This film is riddled with it. The relationship between the father and the son has this throughout, on a more personal level than the broader relationship between species. The father has a preconceived notion of his son and underestimates him, but he proves his abilities in more unconventional ways, which shows the father his preconceived notions aren't always correct, which shows that he could be incorrect about the dragons too. I mean, it takes an emperor dragon and his son losing his leg to accept who he is, and that dragons are kind of cool as well, but he does get there in the end. Also, there's a second film, but in this last film, they end up being hunted by a dragon hunter who honeypots the main character dragon with a white lady dragon. They end up finding the hole in the floor where the dragons come from or something. And then at the end, they decide that it's time for the boy and the dragon to part ways so he can make some cow-coloured baby dragons. So he makes the dragon less disabled so they aren't symbiotic anymore, so he can bang the white lady dragon and become the dragon emperor. How does this third one make the whole thing all racist then? So it starts off with the dragons as the bad guys, and they want them to f*** off home. But the boy thinks, hang on, they seem pretty cool and groovy actually, let's all hang out. And then at the end it's like, actually, you know what? Now that I've got my dick wet, we're gonna f*** off home. And the boy's like, yeah, I think you're right, mate. I've got to further my own species as well. So they go right back to the beginning. I get that it's supposed to say to the audience that this is why dragons have disappeared in the real world, but it is also that, yeah, the species should be separated. It's for the best. Which, if you read the racial harmony kind of message in the first film, are kind of bad. But more weirdly, the bad guy in the third film's whole deal is that he thinks dragons and humans should be segregated. They should not be together. It's disgusting. He's the sentiment that was bad in the first film, but made worse because the bad guy's bad guy sentiment is coming from the bad guy and not his father this time. And in the end, he's proved right because they agree, fundamentally, that dragons and humans should be separated. The only difference is he wants to murder them all, and the dragon boy just hides them. But all that means is when the dragons one day decide to not be so hidden again, everyone's going to be like, oh there's loads of dragons about now, and probably be all murdery towards them again. And it'll take another dragon boy like this to be like, actually, you know what, they are cool and groovy, and a bit like big scaly cats that can fly and stuff. Whereas if they just kept living together symbiotically, then in the future surely everyone would be like, yeah, dragons are cool, everyone knows that. It's just so weird to have a story that teaches you the message that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, and that two seemingly incompatible people can work together in harmony, and then just completely 180 and basically just say that, oh yeah, that whole thing, actually no. They were right to think this was a stupid idea actually. Just go back to how things were, it was fine. I think the intention here was to make a reference to children flying the nest. Feels like it was probably written by a mother whose children have gone to university or something, or a new mother who's had to make sacrifices to look after the child, maybe. The message seems to ultimately be about making compromises and moving apart from your loved ones to make babies and stuff. Or a message of, if you love something, you should let it go to make babies. It's just weird to be a bit pro-segregation and have kind of a ethno-state good conclusion. It must be accidental, but it's so weird that in trying to find a resolution for those characters where they grow up and have babies, they've had to construct a world where they agree with the sentiments that all these films were trying to counter, that these two can't live together, that they should be separate, they should be segregated. It's like the answer here is, we can't and we shouldn't live together in harmony. But these guys, who were mean about it, were bad. They were right, but they were just bad about it. We should be separate, but equal. I don't know, it just seems weird to me. To conclude with tradition over progress, the traditional family unit is more important than interspecies harmony. It's a little bit fascist, and I don't like it. The first film was like, fuck your traditions. We're going to do equal, we're going to do equality, and live together, and make our own traditions. It's a shame it couldn't have just been left as a standalone film. Oh well. I guess the lesson to be learned here, if there is any lesson to be learned here at all, is that just because you can make a series and keep writing all your stories, doesn't mean that you should. You could end up taking your really great children's story with the message of acceptance and empathy, and end up jumping the shark and landing in an ethno state.